Well, hello there. I'm Mark Risen Hopkins. We're back with another episode of Ask Dr. Bitcoin. I am going to talk about NFTs today. What are they? What are they good for? Are they dead? Stay tuned. We'll talk about it. So, what is an NFT? Well, if you are like the rest of the world, you might just think that NFTs are just monkey JPEGs, but it's actually a little bit more than that. No, in fact, NFT stands for non-fungible token. That sounds confusing. What is a non-fungible token? Well, I bet you know what a fungible token is because you've got some in your pocket or in your bank account right now. A fungible token, all that means is that the unit of measure is interchangeable with all the other units of measure in a certain data set. What? That means if you've got a quarter and I've got a quarter, we can change those quarters for each other, and they're largely going to be worth the same in all circumstances. A dollar, a quarter, a penny, a Bitcoin, one Ether, these are all fungible tokens. A non fungible token means that one unit of measure is not equal in general to another unit of measure, although it can be, it most likely isn't. A real world example of a non fungible token would be like a deed to a car or the title to a house. If I walk up to you and say, sight unseen, hey, you want to swap car notes, you're probably going to turn me down right off the bat unless your car is particularly run down, because you know that the value of my car is going to be wildly different from the value to your car. Whereas if I did the same thing with a dollar bill, you probably wouldn't think twice. Hey, take this $1 bill, give me your $1 bill. The machine's not taking mine, it's too wrinkled. This is, in essence, the definition of fungible tokens versus non fungible tokens. Now, where does that come into the world of blockchain, right? So it's very obvious why you would want fungible tokens on a blockchain, because it's involved intrinsically in the security of the network, in the core value proposition of exchanging value via a protocol. But it's not immediately obvious why a non-fungible token is valuable in the same way. Well, once you kind of accept the fact that using a decentralized internet protocol for a medium of exchange of value, that value mostly being fungible tokens, is a positive thing and there's a lot of value to it, you start to wonder, like, what else can we use this blockchain technology for? Well, what if you could encapsulate the value of any object into a token on a blockchain and then trade that token trustlessly without intermediaries? You start to open up a lot of use cases outside of monkey JPEGs. If you have ever heard a pitch from IBM or Oracle or Salesforce about blockchain, it very likely was talking about the value of putting supply chain on the blockchain. What you were hearing in that pitch, and maybe didn't know it, is that they're actually talking about NFT technology. How is that the same thing as a monkey JPEG? Well, so if you are at Walmart, right, and you see all these like cans of tomatoes and beans on the shelf, and you say, okay, I'm going to pull this off the shelf, what you have done is you have interacted with Walmart's supply chain as an end user. That can that you pull off the shelf had a whole life cycle, from the tomato being grown out of the ground to being canned up and being put on a truck somewhere, and then that truck went through a series of checkpoints, and then it landed eventually at a warehouse, and the warehouse took it to the Walmart, right? That whole life cycle of anything that you purchase in a retail store is called supply chain. And what an NFT allows you to do is to track that in a trustless environment. Now, why is that an improvement? Why is tracking a can of tomatoes in a trustless environment something that's valuable? Well, remember our first episode where we talk about the definition of a blockchain, right? It's for the mitigation or elimination of trust between counterparties, right? That means if you have a multi-tenant environment, an environment with a bunch of different stakeholders, they all know that trust is an exploitation vector to the relationship. There's an underlying current that says, hey, if we are living in Walmart's ecosystem, Walmart has a vested interest in skewing the deal towards their side of things, right? And Walmart is the biggest player in the Walmart ecosystem, one of the biggest employers in the world, one of the biggest companies in the world, right? So if you are a tomato grower, or if you're somebody who ships cans of tomatoes around the world, or if you're anybody that plays in that supply chain ecosystem, you are always going to be afraid, if you are dealing with Walmart's supply chain centralized database, that they are tilting the scales in their favor, right? They are somehow manipulating things in a way that would make them come out ahead of you, or would disadvantage you in some way. A blockchain allows you to take that same environment and equalize the playing field, because you know that nobody can edit or monkey with the data and tilt it in their favor. It's all a single ledger accounting system for everything that you put on it. So this is just one example of many. There's a lot of industries that are looking at using NFT technology to further democratize or make more just and fair their ecosystems and industries. If you look around the country, the real estate industry is one of the bigger industries that is looking at blockchain technology, because title custody is something that goes into it's a big stumbling block when it goes to the transfer of an asset, because you not only have to look at who currently owns the title to this, but who might have a past claim to it. And not just above the ground, but also the mineral rights, what's below the ground. And those two things can often be separate. It's a very complicated world, real estate titling. But in places where the counties have taken the time to digitize their records and put them in as on-chain assets, you have just be able to look at and query their database, which is public ledger technology. Anybody can look at it and see what the chain of ownership was for anything relating to a piece of property. And in the future, moving forward, as these assets are increasingly kept on chain, there is no big effort to digitize these assets because it'll already live there. And so as those assets move around, you'll have an on-chain record of custody, just like you have with monkey JPEGs, just like you have with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Everything is public. The database is accessible to anybody. All you got to do is click on the software that allows you to look at it, and you have to have no special access, no special credentials. Anybody can see the chain of custody. I hope this was handy for you, getting a new perspective on what NFTs are beyond simply monkey JPEGs, and why it's more important as a technology than simply custodying art on the blockchain. We're going to delve more deeply into topics related to NFTs later on in the series, because they tie into the topics of DAOs and data oracles. What are those? We'll get into them later on, so stay tuned. Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.